If you have written comments and you haven't been able to finish during the spoken part of it, feel free to share that with us via email, or if you have copies, you can leave them with us as well. And I think that's it. With that, we have the first person up to speak is Tom Wyant, my neighbor, and then he'll be followed by Eric Phillips. Oh, hang on a second, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Tom Wyant. I was Director of Comprehensive Planning at the Atlanta Regional Commission in the early 2000s when we evaluated the costs and benefits of a variety of new transit projects. Of the projects evaluated, one was determined to be the most productive in the 13 counties, delivering the most net new transit riders into the system. Clearly an opportunity with benefits for air quality, transportation efficiency, and quality urban development. The project rose to the top of the aspirations list for the region. That project was the east side portion of the Atlanta Beltline. At the time, it was not certain that funding was available to complete the project, nor was it obvious that the East Side Trail could fulfill the development expectations assumed by our projections. 10 years later, I was working for the city of Atlanta. I oversaw the construction of the first phase of the streetcar development and negotiated the original agreement between the city and MARTA. It was clearly understood that the streetcar was only the first phase of an exciting new era of transit development. The first indications of the astonishing urban growth on the East Side Trail were becoming evident, and the prospects for transit were becoming apparent, and the promise of those early forecasts was becoming reality. Then the city showed leadership to take the question to the voters, and through the More MARTA program, they overwhelmingly approved the tax and proposed projects, with the understanding that the streetcar extension to the East Side Trail was the first of many steps. The voters approved the tax, they approved the projects, the city and MARTA approved the implementation process. Your responsibility now is to honor that technical analysis, that community involvement process, that electoral process, that funding approach, and execute what we collectively committed to the citizens of Atlanta. The East Side Trail is not too dense for transit. It is perfect for transit. It is not the place to take the Georgia DOT approach to congestion and simply add another lane. Rail transit on the whole Beltline will be a long-term process, but you must begin it now. I challenge each of you to go visit the Peachtree Center station and observe the map of the original MARTA system, which was promised in the 1971 referendum. It is to this day unfulfilled. It is time for you to show leadership and not let that happen again. Then look at the streetcar and the East Side Beltline and just build it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wyant. We've been joined by my colleague, Councilmember Byron Amos. With that, we constitute a quorum. So before I call Mr. Phillips up, let's go ahead and take care of the business of adopting the agenda. I'll move to adopt, seconded by Hillis. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open.
We've also been joined by Councilmember Andrea Boone.
The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Next item is approval of the minutes. I'll make the motion to approve. Can I get a second, please? Seconded by Hillis. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? Close the vote, just close it, There we go. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
All right, let's return back to public comment. Next up is Eric Phillips, followed by Mary Howard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Eric Phillips, NPUN, Reynoldstown. It's an inconvenience being here. All these public meetings taking time away from our families, getting paid, simply living life. Yet how today's few minutes of inconvenience pale when compared with the endless hours put in community members, businesses, and various organizations collaborating over the past 3 years to see Beltline Rail come to fruition. Atlantans new and old have uprooted their lives in anticipation. Plenty others are simply dead. More will have joined them by when the first phase is ready to be ridden. I say when, as the history of the Beltline will always include transit and those advocating for its bettering, regardless if we begin now with the same Beltline CEO and mayor who oversaw the previous resequencing that occurred in 2023, or a future mayor and new Beltline CEO willing to live up to the mission. Atlanta's desire for more transit is not shakable. It's a daily conversation of ours. Over 123,000 Atlantans approved this in 2016. So here I am to implore you, regardless of your personal preferences or ideal projects or priorities, to respect the countless time and money invested by your fellow Atlantans. Deliberately monitor and help manage project funds and schedules, and to demand and insist imminent construction of our transit projects, including Beltline Rail along the East Side Trail. City Council and ATO DOT must ensure the city and our partners are judicious with the funds, where delays and obstructions squander our tax dollars and disrespect the efforts put in. Hear me out. I'm proposing a 4-point plan to ensure various priorities of the original Montmartre project list are achieved by closing fund gaps while not contingent upon extending existing TADs. 1, continue and prioritize Montmartre transit projects that enhance service and expand new ridership areas, including the East Side Beltline Rail. 2, allocate 50 to 75% of remaining Beltline TAD through 2030 and apply to transit. The Beltline's $242 million single-year annual budget, with less than 41% of the allocations to the mainline trail and without any rail, is alarming. $184 million of that is from the TAD alone, again, for that single year. With upcoming 2027 and 2031 T-SPLOS and bond referendas, allocate 20% to specific transit projects to get put over the line. Point 4, if existing TADs are closed and a new TAD is created, allocate a portion of the funds, such as 20%, to those additional transit projects that still need the gaps closed. What I'm recommending is that you go beyond asking why, especially when you're speaking with decision makers today and in the future. Demand progress, wield legislation, propose solutions, and seek out new partners. Most importantly, demonstrate goodwill and ensure East Side Beltline Rail advances this year without obstruction. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Mary Howard, followed by Craig Quinlan.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you about my concerns regarding the MARTA REACH program. I live in Edgewood. I live on Memorial Drive in the Edgewood neighborhood, along with many people in the various apartments and townhomes in the area. I and many of my neighbors have depended for years and years on the reliable service of the number 21 bus, which is now being rerouted, and the nearest location for bus service would be at least about a half a mile away. I understand it's being replaced by a MARTA REACH service, which is an on-call service, and I have to call them and wait 30 minutes for them to come. In 30 minutes, I can walk within that neighborhood service. Most able-bodied people probably could. So I'm extremely confused about why this is happening, and I'm really trying to find some answers, because I'd like to keep an open mind about this, but I haven't heard anything about why, so I need to do that. I've been to the board, I've talked to my neighborhood group, and I'm here now. I think public transit is an extremely important service, and I feel like this is a real step backward. And so I'm hoping that I can get some answers about why this is happening and why this might be a step forward in transit. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Craig Quinlan, followed by Stephen. Last name begins with an I, maybe? So, Mr. Quinlan, are you here? There you go. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
My name is Craig. I've lived in Atlanta since 2013 over in Grant Park. And since I've been here, I've seen a lot of debate and votes in efforts to expand transit in Atlanta with not much to show for it. I'm a person who's concerned with public transportation because it affects the enjoyment of our city and the health of our city. And zooming out, it's also a huge piece of the puzzle when considering protecting our environment and our planet. I'm here to voice my support for the East Side Rail expansion from downtown to Ponce City Market. My understanding is that nearly $10 million have been spent to study and plan this expansion, and that there are funds currently in place to start construction right now. The East Side Trail is the most densely populated area along the entire Beltline, making it ideal for light rail as a mode of transportation. Of course, I'm a proponent of light rail transit for the entire Beltline, but this specific project seems to make the most sense at this time. Shifting focus to a different area for light rail would require years, maybe as many as 10 years of studies before any real progress would be able to be made. And given the history of the city with relation to public transportation, what's to say that in 10 years, the goalposts aren't gonna move again, and we're gonna be stuck in the same loop of not having any rail. It's interesting to me that the opponents of this project, who are supposedly small business owners and residents in the area where the rail would be, that's who they're supposed to be, but my understanding is that they're funded by people who have corporate interests in mind. Specifically, the 1859 Fund, you can look into that, is reportedly a major donor, and they are led by corporate real estate CEOs. To me, it looks like their interests are in protecting their businesses, and I would submit that they're not concerned with the city or their residents. I just don't understand why we would throw away a project that has been nearly fully fleshed out after spending $10 million to get to this point, just to wait another 7 to 10 years for the next project to get canceled. It's infuriating to get so close to something that could be so good just to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I'm begging the leaders in this room to help Atlanta become a city that is serious about transit. Until we stop kicking this can down the road and actually get work done on this shovel-ready project, we will continue to be unserious. Build the East Side Light Rail all the way to Ponce City Market. Please do it now. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I look forward to all of you being remembered for starting the transit revolution in Atlanta. Toot toot.
Thanks. Next up is Stephen, and I'm sorry, I don't see your last name, and then followed by David Serrano.
My name is Stephen Eimel. Atlanta claims to be a world-class city, but the people who rely on its transit would be the first to call BS on that statement. We pride ourselves on the Atlanta Way, but the Atlanta Way seems to be making promises in public and breaking them behind closed doors. Since the Beltline was conceived, the project was deeply tied to transit. Behind closed doors and at the behest of Atlanta's oligarchy, major decisions are made that ensure the future of Atlanta is one of gridlock and car dependency. The streetcar has the potential to be a very useful part of our transit infrastructure if we extend it to and onto the Beltline. We have the plan, the public has the desire, and the density is there and will only grow as Atlanta does. There are examples of cities across the world where streetcars work. They have multiple lines, streets dedicated to their operations, and buses that make up the remaining network. Those cities have not ground to a halt. The streetcar does not menace the public. They run on time and they are reliable. And they are a critical way to move people around those cities. Atlanta could be so much better with real transit. So why are we allowing an unelected group of people in a closed-door meeting decide the future of a city whose transit they don't even use? Beltline Rail is not the only project that MARTA has left on the table. The headway of all of our buses is atrocious, their consistency is awful, and only those who have to rely on it do. How will we ever move Atlanta forward if we can't even move one project forward? Beltline Rail has been planned, it is wanted, and above all, it is necessary. The city must hold MARTA to account and ensure the rail is built. Thank you.
Thank you. We've also been joined by council members Mary Norwood as well as Matt Westmoreland. Next up is David Serrano, followed by Con Cummings.
Hello, City Council members. My name is David Serrano, and I am a recently sheltered resident of Atlanta, and I frequently use MARTA trains for commuting to work, and I do not own a vehicle. The East Side Beltline Rail Extension Project was approved by your bosses, the voters of Atlanta, almost 10 years ago. The Moore-Mata referendum was passed almost unanimously in 2016, and nothing has happened in 10 years, and our voters are waiting. Some of you have been on city council members for a while now, some are new. In all, you are now overseeing a project that's been stalled by over a decade. A decade of planning, analysis, and public engagement from MARTA, Beltline Inc., and this council has led to nothing. In fact, our leaders, elected and appointed, are now conducting backroom decisions in shade on this project without proper oversight and participation from local government and away from the eyes and ears of the voting public. Why? What are we hiding? Is it incompetence, corruption? Is it greed, or a decade of failure? In last year's elections, the voters along the East Side Beltline in District 2 elected council member Kelsey Bond, who ran on improving the city's transit system through transparency and starting to build the shovel-ready East Side rail line extension. She won by 64% of the vote. That's 44% above her corporate real estate funded opponent. That's a district-wide mandate, in my opinion, and of many others' opinions. Regardless, this time is now to move forward and progress. The land is already allocated for the project, and City Council, and as City Council, one of the most powerful entities in Atlanta, I ask you all to please take action, coordinate with your interagency counterparts at MARTA and the Beltline Inc., and start the work on the East Side Beltline rail extension now, as the voters demanded and mandated in the district that needs it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Con Cummings, followed by Christy Lenz.
Great day. I'm Kyrie Cummings. I'm the son of Judge Thelma Wyatt Cummings Moore, and we want to thank the City Council for presenting the paper to rename Lee Street after our mom, Judge Thelma Wyatt Cummings Moore. Not just because she's our mom and not just because of the many contributions she's made to the city, the countless people that have spoken to us personally who have told us how she's impacted their lives, and not even because she, not only because she was the creator of the Fulton Family Court or the first African female judge to be the Superior Court Chief Judge in Fulton County, but also because of Lee Street and the significance of the name. Our mom was a symbol of justice, fairness, and equality and beauty, and to have that renamed would be great, you know, with the association with Lee Street, with the Confederate flag and everything that's associated with that. I just think it would be powerful, and it would really be great to have that happen. So we thank you for considering that, and we hope as the family that you will make the right decision with that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Christy Lenz, followed by Michael Keith.
Hi, I'm Christy Lenz. I'm here advocating for Beltline Rail, the East Side Trail. As we have heard time and time again, this was voted by the City of Atlanta residents, the referendum. It was a mandate. We gave you our money to give us all these transportation projects, of which only one is sort of half done. The East Side Trail is studied. The data shows time and time again that rail is the answer. It is not multimodal. It is not a glorified Sprinter van. It is not a bus to around the Beltline. It is actually light rail on the Beltline. This would put us with every other major city investing in light rail and investing in public transit for their citizens. It took me 45 minutes to get here today, and 2 parking garages that were full of cars, and I had to go to a third lot. There's no reason in the city of Atlanta, when I live in the city of Atlanta, I should not be able to get here in one mode, not multi-modes. Multi-modes just provides a disjointed travel experience for people trying to get around without a car. When it takes me longer to get there on MARTA than it does just driving, the city has a problem. And on the East Side Trail, with World Cup coming, I just imagine how amazing it would be to have the downtown streetcar linked to the East Side Trail, and what that long light rail experience would be like to people visiting our city, in addition to those living in our city, and the availability to businesses and grocery stores that gives people along that light rail route. That would be transformational for the city, and it would make the downtown streetcar make more sense. It actually would go somewhere and it would allow people to come downtown, activating downtown. I mean, that transit connection would be huge for the city, just that. But we want all 22 miles. It is not just an east side segment. It is not east side or south side. It is east side and south side. It is and, not or. So please build this as the voters gave you our money to build this. Take our money, build it. We want it. It is conclusive. 65% of people say they want that. And in a divisive political time like this, to get 65% of people to agree with something is pretty good. Anyway, thank you for your time. I would love this transportation committee to be remembered for doing something really big, really bold, really brave. Build rail. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Keith, followed by Matthew Rao.
Hello. I am also thinking that let's get moving on the Beltline Rail. We have been talking about this for years now. It's honestly a little bit old. I'm sure everyone up here is sick of hearing about it, and I think we're all sick about talking about it, and we just want to start writing it. You know, we'll ask, where do we get the money? Well, we already paid for it. Where are we going to get the land? We already have the land. There's really nothing stopping us. It's just a matter of holding the people accountable. So I know this council, if you guys are able to hold MARTA accountable, hold the mayor accountable, this is our job. This is, you know, what we're here to do, and this is our time to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Matthew Rao, followed by Lauren Welsh.
Councilmember Juan, thank you. It took me 45 minutes to get here today. And with 5 points partially closed, that's not really a good answer for mobility. So I'm Matthew Rao. I live in District 4 in Midtown and chair of Beltline Rail now. I own a business, a storefront in Midtown as well. And a lot has been made in recent weeks of a vote that took place on the Project Governance Committee of the MARTA program, a vote that you only found out in the media about last month. And I know there's been a lot of talk here about why we need Beltline Rail. I'm not here to repeat that. We said as a city we would do it. Some of you were here when the Beltline was created and participated in that. And that was probably the most forward visionary thing a council could do. You created the Beltline. You created the TAD. You amended the city charter. MARTA didn't do that. The mayor didn't do that. You did. And it's time now, 20 years later, to follow through on that. The one ingredient that's missing, and we can talk about the problem ad nauseum, but the one ingredient that is missing is you. When the intergovernmental agreement between MARTA and the city was written, there were many who said that the city council should have a role and have a voice. And I think that what we're finding out today is that could never be more true. Council President Overstreet said so in her campaign last fall. And I'm here to advocate that you are, as the one accountable body, as a council as a whole, and you as members of the Transportation Committee, seek to amend the IGA to include a voting member from the City Council. It is you who meet with constituents. It is you who are accountable. It is you that do things in public and not private. And that is the ingredient that is missing right now, not just for Beltline Rail. I mean, you could participate in the burning of $12 million in 6 years. That may happen. We're about to see the fourth resequencing of the MARTA program before a single transit expansion project has been delivered. That doesn't happen other places. Other places had a referendum when we did, and they're delivering their rail, their bus projects. We're just getting started 10 years later. You shouldn't tolerate that. I don't think you do. And the way to move things forward is for you to assert yourselves and become involved. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker today is Lauren Welsh.
Good morning, y'all. Good to see many of you. I know many of you. Lauren Welsh, 30-year resident here in the city of Atlanta. I am here to talk to y'all, yes, of course, about Beltline Rail, but not just because of the rail, but because of the need to restore public trust with the communities. I have worked within my neighborhood in Candler Park for many years, with NPUN for many years. Now I do a lot of work in Little Five Points. And I am constantly advocating to people to please show up and participate, that going to these meetings, being part of these planning processes, this is where it starts. Because you have to have a plan, you have to design to bring it before committees to then get voted on and funding, et cetera. But now we're building designs and building plans, and then we're having these changes in our decision-making process behind closed doors. It could be Beltline Rail, it could be a public safety training facility, it could be Peachtree Street, and I'm having a hard time encouraging people to show up anymore. I don't know what to tell them when it seems like we have meetings, we get community engagement, we get approval, and then somehow it just gets stopped. And what I'm looking for is some real leadership, someone to step up and take charge, because it seems like we've got just constant chaos and miscommunication and misunderstanding and finger pointing. We have a really incredible opportunity here. We've had it for years with the Beltline. I mean, whoever gets this much right of way to do building on. It was a way for us to look at the city and say, okay, we've done a not great job with density or mobility options. Let's try and start afresh with what we have here. We've built density. It certainly has not been the most affordable. We've built density, but we've not built any kind of mobility to connect to it. And it cannot be separated. This is not a separate development from the city of Atlanta. It's a thread that connects these 45 neighborhoods. It does not need a small bus. It needs fixed rail that can then extend onto our streets, that is dedicated right-of-way, that helps people move faster. Because sitting in those pods, sitting in those cars, you get stuck behind other traffic. You see it with the downtown streetcar. People point to the downtown streetcar and say, that's why we can't do light rail. That wasn't done well. It sits in traffic. And so now people use that as an excuse to not do light rail again. I get it, but that's not the only way to do it. We should be doing it better, and we should stop watching other cities pass us by who continue to invest in it, and they see from their residents and other small businesses why it's been helpful for them. You know, the other thing I do is I serve on the city's ZRB, the Zoning Review Board, and I'll tell you, every application that comes up, always the question is parking. Over. So just, yes, we have density. We have to do the transit to connect to it. They are together.
Thank you, Ms. Welsh. That concludes our public comment. I do want to thank everybody for making the time to come down here and share your thoughts with us. As y'all know from the all-call, your presence here today is timely because we're going to just move right into our presentation today, and we do have MARTA team here to do their quarterly presentation. So with that, Mr. Hunt, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you to lead us through your comments.
Good morning, Chair Wan, Vice Chair Worthy, and members of the Transportation Committee. It's my pleasure to join you today as the Interim General Manager and CEO of your MARTA Transit System. I have a robust report for you today. I want to recognize my board members, Ide, Zagave, and Jones, who are our City Council representatives. Before I open up today, I'd like to start by saying MARTA and the region are making a generational investment into the enhancements of the public transit system. Through our next-gen bus network, Better Breeze, as well as the CQ400 rail cars, Rapid A-Line, 5 Points Transformation Project, and MARTA Reach, we are transforming this region's transit initiatives. Any one of these projects, in and of themselves, would be a transformational project, and they are, with years of planning and public outreach, and we're delivering all of those, some $1.5 billion in 2026. The MARTA that people have seen in 2025 as we closed out will not be the MARTA that people see at the end of 2026. With that, I'll jump right into the agenda and right into item number 1. which is ridership. So prior to the streetcar closure, we saw ridership improving slightly above pre-pandemic levels. Now that Georgia Power has completed their work, the streetcar is back up and running on February 3rd. On mobility, we've seen mobility show strong year-over-year performance and has grown past pre-pandemic levels. And bus ridership remains steady year-over-year. However, we're very optimistic that the next-gen bus network will see increased ridership due to improved service, increased frequency, as well as better reliability throughout the service area. It will provide 3 times as many Atlantans with bus service with 15-minute headways or wait times than currently exists. And rail ridership also has remained steady year over year. But as I've said before, we're in the process of delivering $1.5 billion. So there's going to be some short-term pain for long-term gain. We are confident that the delivery of our Better Breeze system and tightening up our fare gates, as well as making it a frictionless experience, will increase our rail ridership. I'd like to now move into the More MARTA capital projects. This first slide is a snapshot of the More MARTA Atlanta capital expenditures. These numbers are being updated constantly, but being updated, and I will spend a bit more time with these next quarterly briefing. We're transitioning at MARTA from one accounting method for our capital programs to another, from a cash basis to an accrual basis system, which we find automates the processes, provides more reliable data, and aligns better with our systems because we are on an accrual counting-based system across our entire authority. The MARTA Rapid A Line, or the Summerhill BRT project. A soft opening is planned for this project on April 18th with a formal groundbreaking post World Cup. The acceleration of active construction would not have been possible without the help of ATL-DOT, Commissioner Cavanis and his team, and we continue to engage the city and the community to deliver this project on time. Please note that the New Flyer buses, that the battery electric buses that are planned for this project and this alignment have a national recall. We are still going to use those battery electric buses, and in fact, the overhead charging system at the terminus at the end of the alignment has been constructed. Once that battery issue is resolved by New Flyer, those buses will come into service. Nonetheless, we will service the entire corridor. The yellow dots on the slide that you see represent the temporary stops for the soft opening. And as those are built out post-World Cup, post-construction moratorium, those will go in and we'll have our formal groundbreaking. This next slide brings me a lot of joy and pride, as well as all of the folks here at MARTA. The 2 photos show the intersection of Abernathy and Hank Aaron Drive in 2018 on the left, and 2025 on the right. As you can see, the dramatic The picture that you see is from the January 2026 Peoplestown Neighborhood Association meeting where we did outreach and explaining the Rapid A-Line project. I'm going to move now on to the 5 Points transformation. And just as a reminder, 5 Points is 2 projects in one. The first project is the transformation project, illustrated on the slide. We have relocated MARTA's MPD station, as well as our Lost and Found and MARTA Hope, to our Ashby station temporarily while the work is being done. We are very excited about the work going on right now, and you'll be seeing new large cranes which will help deconstruct the very large members of the roof shelter coming into 5 Points here in March. We're partnering with Mercedes-Benz, State Farm, and other downtown stakeholders for the exterior of the station. We'll be doing Atlanta-centric mural, which will cover up the chain link fencing as well as painting the Jersey barriers, and that art improvement will stay in place throughout World Cup and thereafter. Police, I want to give a shout out and some flowers to our Chief of Police, Chief Crair, who's reached out and received great partners from the police departments at Georgia State, as well as APD, to strengthening the policing around 5 Points during construction and thereafter. The second project on 5 Points is the 5 Point Station rehab. As we all know, 5 Point Station is open, has remained open throughout construction, and will remain open throughout the entirety of our construction. Downstairs, at the platform levels, we have instituted and converted that completely. New brighter lighting, floor tiles, wall tiles, additional seating areas make 5 Points lighter, brighter. If you traverse through 5 Point Station and moving from north to south or east to west, the station largely has already been completed. It's only when you come to the street level that you notice the additional work on the transformation project. The next project I'd like to touch on is the Cleveland Metropolitan ART project. Pictured on the left is a rendering of what the ART station stops will look like. The Cleveland Metropolitan ART project spans approximately 20 miles in total. Within the corridor, they will cross 40 intersections, and those intersections will receive transit signal priority for our buses, which will be installed by GDOT. Other benefits of the ART line will include Q-jump lanes to help the line maintain enhanced headways, as well as 4 pedestrian safety crossings and beacons at mid-block, not just at intersections, for safer routes to transit. We'll have a total of 53 shelters on the ART project, and in the corridor, 38 will be solar powered, as well as having the bike improvements that you see in the picture there. The MARTA Rapid C line, or the Campbellton BRT, I have some really good news to share on this project. It has officially received a medium to high rating from the FTA, and this is part of their annual report of funding recommendations. That means we can apply for CIG or capital improvement grant funds. We are at 30-ish% design, or design levels that you see on the slide there above. We also are in design and public outreach regarding the flyover bridge. The alignment does conclude the flyover bridge from Barge Road to Greenbrier Mall. This will allow us to maintain our headways, as well as minimize the impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. The bridge will also include a pedestrian pathway along it in parallel. We've engaged the public through bus ride-alongs and briefings, as well as directly interacting with the MPUs. I also like to do a flowers and shout out to board member Jones, who helped facilitate a lot of that public outreach. And on November 18th, we were at Greenbrier Mall conducting community leaders roundtables with respect to this project. The next project I'd like to chat about in the MARTA program is the Bankhead Station Platform Extension. Currently, this is at 60% design. The scope meets the need of the station platform, but I am pleased to report, under the leadership of our board, we were able to complete a land swap with a neighboring landowner, which will allow, in the lower part of that screen where you see bus loop, was not previously MARTA property. We have closed on that, which allows us to move the bus loop from underneath the rail station to the east side of the rail station. The improvements there are for customer safety, better flow and circulation, ease of building a transit-oriented development, improved overall facility, and most importantly, there is no impact on MARTA funding for this acquisition. The next project I'd like to turn to is the MARTA Rapid Clifton Corridor. For the Rapid Clifton Corridor project, we previously stated in September that we'd be back to this group with a locally preferred alternative by the end of this first quarter in 2026. I want to be transparent with this body and the public. Due to the launch of our many other initiatives this year, we determined that more public stakeholder improvement and engagement was required. As a result, we are now targeting to have that LPA completed by the end of 2026 or Q4. We are finalizing our public engagement plan, which we plan to launch in earnest in Q3. so that folks can really focus in on this project, given all of the other items going on in the city this summer. Next, I'd like to turn to the Streetcar East Extension. With the attention on this project recently, we wanted to make certain to have a project update. As noted on the screen, we are at 30% project delivery, and we've conducted additional feasibility studies around, and I will be brief, in short, looking to alternative modes of transit on the streetcar extension that could be delivered to the Beltline easier or more cost effectively. We've also completed a study regarding whether or not we could have a complete greenway track bed, whether or not that was feasible. And I want to clean up the notion that the project was halted because we couldn't go into construction because of a working group. We're at 30% design, so we're not at the shovel-ready point. There were also some questions regarding the project from this body and others. I addressed some of those in our MARTA board meeting, but I want to address them again here. So the composition of the PGC is defined in Section 4 of the IGA as shown on the slide. The More MARTA program is governed by an IGA, as we all know, between MARTA, the City of Atlanta, and Atlanta Beltline. With respect to projects that impact the Beltline has a vote. The IGA was reviewed and approved by the MARTA Board, City Council, and the governing body of Atlanta Beltline. The More MARTA program, which includes the streetcar extension, is governed by this working group, the title of which is the Program Governance Committee, or PGC. The PGC consists of members, as noted on the slide, and the working group of executives, each of these bodies, is no different than the MARTA executives, the Atlanta Beltline executives, or City of Atlanta executives, meeting internally on matters which are not governed by the open meetings requirements. The PGC authority and the purpose are clearly defined in the IGA between MARTA, the City of Atlanta, Atlanta Beltline. The PGC meetings, while not publicly attended, are not secret. All of the work and decision-making process have been transparent. We regularly receive many numbers of open records requests regarding the PGC or the Program Management Committee, which is a level below the PGC, regarding what's going on and what they're doing, which we respond to and provide freely. Also not a secret is the desire to reevaluate and reprioritize the More MARTA Atlanta program, which is the process of individual partners as well as the PGC itself has been open and transparent. In fact, the IGA itself indicates that in 2025 or sooner, that the Program Management Committee will adopt an updated phasing plan incorporating the latest budget and scheduling information to ensure that the program remains aligned to the More MARTA constraints. The agreement adopted by all parties contemplates that there will be changes to the project and project phasing. So the characterization by outlets that the working group's meetings are secret or reevaluating the project prioritization is not within the IGA as adopted is simply incorrect. That being said, when the decision to pause funding on those studies, not on the project, but on those feasibility studies was made, MARTA was in the period of a bit of turmoil and turnover in leadership. We did not report out to our board clearly enough that that vote had taken place. I have committed, and anybody can look in the last board meeting, to provide our board with more open and transparent updates about what's coming out of the PGC, what decisions or votes are made. But I regularly, if you look at my GM remarks at a board meeting, provide robust updates around our critical projects. Not every single MARTA project, because that would be too long, but many of our critical projects, a lot of which surround the More MARTA program. But I have made that commitment on behalf of myself and the authority. With that, I'll take questions around this, but I will wrap up the report because it is pretty robust. Moving on to station rehab, I'm sorry. Chair one, okay. I'd like to move on to our station rehab program, which is a $1 billion rehab program where we're going to touch all 38 stations. I'm going to highlight a few here today. Airport Station, we continue to see progress around Airport Station, and I'd like to let this body know that the airport general manager Smith hosted myself and my team within the last 2 weeks, where we discussed many items, none the least of which was Airport Station, where we were able to confirm that we will have the elevator completed and open, as well as the platform pavers done, so that the airport station is very presentable and looks great when the world comes to visit us. With respect to East Lake Station, the last quarter, we've been able to complete the north pedestrian bridge. The other pedestrian bridge is literally completed and delivered. It sits in our parking lot. I'd like to thank our partners with CSX, who as recently as a couple of days ago have been able to approve us for flagging. So the construction of the other pedestrian bridge should be completed prior to World Cup. That bridge spans over CSX property, so we have to interface with them before doing work. Garnett Station, we completed the platform level work on this station with my 5 favorite words in construction, which is on time and on budget. We are currently working at the plaza level right now in partnership, obviously, with the city, with the South Downtown, the Soto LLC group, and ADID to improve the Garnett Station Plaza, as well as all of Broad Street. The Broad Street work and the plaza work will be synergistic, and Soto is completing that work, so we know that it'll be a complete tie. The next station I'd like to discuss is the Sports, Entertainment, and Convention District Station. The board and myself challenged the team to get this work completed around renaming this station by December 1st of this year. I am proud to report they completed that on December 1st, and a few days later, your station was featured on College Game Day. It made such an impact. So the station that was GWCC, CNN, many other names, is now SEC District Station going forward. The new name captures the full range of what's going on in and around that station because it is, in fact, the Sports, Entertainment, and Convention District area. We continue to collaborate with Centennial Olympic Yards and for a brand new south entrance in the SEC District Station, and there'll be more to report on that soon, but we're very excited to tie into that project that was under the leadership of this body and the initiative to move forward with Centennial Olympic Yards. I'd like to touch on Vine City Station. When I took over, I had our folks look at Vine City Station. We reevaluated the same and believed that it needed some improvements. The scope of work is being completed for these improvements, and we plan on completing these improvements prior to World Cup. Those tasks include replacing the hanging ceiling, replacing the broken bricks and pavers with some concrete walkways, some door frames and cabinets, obviously pressure washing, and improving the lighting in the station. Smart Restrooms is a program that's been going on for a while, which we continue to do. Prior to World Cup, we'll be having new smart restrooms installed at Peachtree Center as well as Lakewood stations. I'm going to move on to our robust community engagement. So for successful events, I think I want to cover each one of these events in detail. Just make sure everybody was listening. Okay. I am not going to cover each one of these events in detail. This is representative of the hard work that our public engagement and many of our folks have been doing. We've been hitting the ground running in 2026 with all the projects that we're delivering to let the public know. We've conducted 23 open houses this month alone on Next Gen Bus Network, and there's only 28 days in the month. I want to say thank you to a few council people who have supported our efforts during this month, including Councilmember Bond with a food distribution at Oakland City Station, Transit Equity Day. We were joined at West End Station by our partners at the Amalgamated Transit Union under the leadership of President Ward. At City Hall on the same day, Commissioner Cabanis, ATL DOT team, and MARTA team held commemorative ceremonies to celebrate Transit Equity Day. And last week, we attended Councilmember Martin's town hall to talk about the Campbellton BRT project, as well as other projects. And in other news, we're in session. I want to thank the council, the mayor, as well as all of the city for their support around our penny legislation. I'm happy to report that House Bill 1137 had a hearing at Transportation Committee on the 18th of this month, and the bill was passed unanimously. We also want to thank ATL DOT and APD for another successful collaboration on the BRT simulation from the Gold Dome to the Chambers Eggs and Issues event. We've only received great feedback. With bus camera enforcement, we can deliver that level of service to the general public every single day without overburdening APD writing tickets for folks who have incursions into our lanes. Atlanta streetcar. The streetcar is back in service, and it was on February 3rd. Georgia Power completed their work. I won't belabor this body with all the work that we were able to complete while the streetcar was down due to Georgia Power work, but it was substantial. Next Gen Bus Network. The Next Gen Bus Network is a complete revisioning of our network. It is the culmination of 5 years of public outreach, planning, and hard work. We're only 52 days away from the launch of this network. The team is working hard internally to prepare for the launch, including launch staff deployments over the launch weekend, developing a launch day playbook, and training our bus operators on the new network, the new routes, and the new details. Through the month of February, we've completed all the open houses and many more events, but our team has provided each of you, as well as the mayor's office, and the full council, the Office of Constituent Services, with toolkits regarding the Next Gen Bus Network, MARTA Reach, and many of our other initiatives. Speaking of MARTA Reach, this is also an outgrowth of our Next Gen Bus Network, an entirely new mode of transit like Bus Rapid Transit, delivering micro-mobility through 12 zones. We will be providing complimentary rides through each one of these zones from March 7th, the launch day, which is less than a week away, or about a week away, and 5 zones in the city of Atlanta. We'll be providing complimentary rides during this period to allow our customer base and the patrons to get used to it, to be able to work through any issues before we go into the full launch. Customers within these zones can use the MARTA Reach app, the website, or call to make reservations. All zones will connect to higher frequency service, either bus or rail, and if your destination is within the zone, you get a point-to-point connection. There was during public comment a note regarding a concern about the Route 21. You can get with us right after. I don't think the changes to Route 21 are quite as drastic as you may believe, but we're happy to address those directly after the Transportation Committee meeting. The vehicle you see are the Dodge ProMaster Ram vehicles. They are fantastic. They too have had a nationwide recall. The National Highway Transportation Association will not let us put those in service. It is a fuse that is the backstop for a fan cooling unit. But we have other vehicles that we've been able to source within the last week and a half. They'll have similar MARTA Reach livery on them, and we are going to go forward with the launch on the 7th. Just because Dodge has a recall issue, that doesn't stop MARTA from moving forward. The next item I'd like to touch on is a better breeze. I want to remind everybody again, there's some short-term pain for very long-term gain. Currently, we have over 23 stations under construction, and more stations are going under construction weekly. We're replacing every single fare gate array, all the payment methods on all of our rolling stock, as well as our entire back end and payment system. This will allow for a faster, more streamlined, frictionless experience. You do not need to have a Breeze card to ride our system after April 18th, when this system goes into effect. Please note, we are encouraging all of our patrons to spend down their balances through May 2nd, when we go hard and live on Better Breeze. During the month of April, you'll be able to use the old system and the new system, but on May 2nd, we cut the cord and we're on the new system. Between May 2nd and October 30th, anybody with a remaining balance will be able to transfer the same by calling in or using the app in order to transfer any remaining balance or trips that you may have. Public safety. I don't want to bury the lead here, but as of February 18th, our crime statistics are we've had no homicides, aggravated assaults are down 20%. Robbery is up 200%, but let me put that in context for this body. We had 1 robbery through this period in 2025. We've had 3 robberies through this period in 2026. But any robbery is an issue, and we're working on it. but I just wanted to put 200% in context. We always report in percentages, so I don't want to change that and have anybody think that we're trying to play hide the ball. Overall crime is down 14%. We're one of the safest transit agencies in this nation, and we have partnered with all of our jurisdictional partners in terms of cities, counties, and other municipalities within our jurisdictional areas, and have special deployments with APD as well as many other areas to do targeted enforcement activities. When I took over as interim general manager and CEO, safety was a big charge of mine as well as my board. I committed to having, we had a budgeted allotment of 250 officers. I committed to having 250 officers employed, passed through all training, and on the force by the end of the year. I also committed to adding 30 additional officers above the budgeted allotment by the end of 2026. Additionally, I asked Chief to add an additional 10 field protective specialists above the budgeted allotment before the end of 2026. I am pleased to report we have 278 officers on our force right now, with more in the academy, and we continue to look to fill out those final 10 field protective specialist positions to augment MPD. And as I close, I want to reiterate, we are making nearly $1.5 billion generational change to your entire MARTA system. We are going to deliver the next-gen bus network, brand new, most technologically advanced rail cars in the nation, a better Breeze system, which will be on the cutting edge of FinTech here in Atlanta, a new Rapid A line, a 5 Points transformation, rehab project, which will come online. We are World Cup ready, and we did all of that for the citizens of this region and of this city, while reducing crime by 28% last year and being down over 14% this year. I'm going to let you know and let the public know I'm extremely proud of the men and women who serve MARTA and serve you and the people every single day. And I stand by that today and every day going forward. With that, I yield the microphone to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Council President Marcy Collier Overstreet, as well as Councilmember Antonio Lewis. With that, we'll open it up to questions from my colleagues. Please press your speaker button. First up is Thomas Worthy.
Mr. Hunt, good to see you. After a question for you, I have to run out and join my colleagues, Councilmember Kelsey Bond and Councilmember Wayne Martin in Athens for the University of Georgia to teach us how to do this job for the next 3 days. But I have a question for you that I want to put out in the public space. Mr. Rao brought this up, and I don't agree with Mr. Rao on everything, but I agree with him 100% on this. We need a new IGA, in my opinion. I think that the existing IGA does not have any council voice in it, and quite frankly, I don't think the existing IGA is very clear. I think it's better than the previous IGA, but it needs to be improved drastically. Does MARTA share that same view?
We have no opposition to revisiting the IGA.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Councilmember Amos.
Yes, sir.
But hang on a second, wait. We've been joined by Councilmember Ishay Collins as well. Sorry, Mr. Amos, please proceed.
No problem. Thank you. I actually got a question for legal before I have a question for MARTA. Several years ago, I introduced a paper to put someone on the in the IGA on the board, and I think we cannot because of home rule, it being created by state or something of that nature. I don't know if we want to revisit that and actually get a legal opinion on what we're able to do when it comes to the IGA. But I'll leave that there. Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing?
Amos, I'm well.
Always realized it was a two-stage event when it came to the Bankhead extension and then the TOD development. Where are we on the TOD part of that equation?
Great question, Councilman Amos. We have selected a development partner. It's a joint venture of an entity here in Atlanta and an entity that does business in New York and Miami. We're very proud of that partnership. It's been a while. no doubt. But there have been several changing tides under the feet of that developer, including us acquiring additional property very recently, the shifts with Microsoft, and they're backing away from that development, and now the city having that property. And we didn't feel that it would be right to simply cancel and re-solicit that proposal because the ground underneath that developer shifted. So we're still working with them. We're working with the city. We do want to move that forward, but we want to measure twice and cut once there. But it is definitely still moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Moving to the Ashby Street parking lot, have we started talking about the future of that once you transition out of that? And are you staying in the loop with the LCI development that is taking place around the station as well?
I am personally not in those meetings. I know we have groups who are
Okay.
Around those developments. The timeline on the transformation project, which is what will allow those groups to come back, are near 2029 in terms of completion. So we have plenty of time to do public outreach, engagement, and determine what's best for the community in the coming years. I mean, it's a lot of room to do something special there.
Every presentation, I always have to mention Vine City, but this time I just want to say thank you. It appears you guys have heard and actually stepping up. I know there's a longer conversation to take place. So we would definitely be in that. And then on a side note, your slide when you was talking about paying, I noticed you had a Wells Fargo and a Visa card. Are they paying into the MARTA system for free promotion? That's a question.
No, those just happen to be the cards used by the individual. I'm not going to call out that MARTA person when we did our big ribbon cutting back in the fall.
I understand, sir. Thank you and your team for everything you do. You have been more responsive than MARTA has ever been, in my opinion. So thank you for that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilmember Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hunt, thank you for that very well done presentation. Route 865, which runs through the Adamsville community, what are the plans for notifying those neighbors of the changes?
So you're talking Next Gen Bus Network. We have meet and greets going on almost every day. We do flyers and postcards as well. Our website, we push out in social media, but if there's some particular entities or groups, next month we're going into communities with our groups more than just at bus stations and at bus shelters. When we get to the just prior to the launch, we're literally going to every single bus stop, every single bus intermodal and bus shelter to let people know we'll be riding buses, what the changes are. So we're not just doing it through technology and hoping somebody gets it.
I would definitely like to work with you all on that because my neighbors in the Plainville, Boulder Park, Line Road, Wilson Mill Road area have not been notified properly.
We will remediate that immediately.
Will you have MARTA reach zones in that area as well?
We have 12 zones. I do not know off the top of my head. But we do have planners. We're going to circle back.
Route 865, that is the Adamsville community. And there are many elderly citizens that still rely on bus service heavily in that area. Will you give me an update on the Hamilton E. Holmes MARTA station?
Absolutely. Hamilton Homes MARTA station, we have some surface level parking improvements around our bus only lane that we want to take care of in the short term. Hamilton Homes is also the site for the FIFA's Legacy Project, so we'll be bringing soccer in the streets there as well. There's a planned TOD that we are working on and we'll be planning.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Can the neighbors get some type of schedule? We've been working on that for 4 years now. We need a schedule of the progress, what's going on with that. We are very excited about that 22-acre redevelopment.
Indeed, we are as well. And as well in terms of station enhancement, we also will be fixing a double crossover that leads into that station and doing some station repairs after World Cup later in 2026. So there's a lot that's about to happen for Hamilton E. Homes beyond the surface level stuff.
Is there anyone I can speak with regarding a schedule that I could? get out?
Absolutely. You can
Thank
talk
you.
with our head of operations and we'll reach out to you. We'll reach out
Thank
to you.
you.
You don't have to try to
Also,
reach out to
thank you to your team for the cleanliness of the bus shelters. We've made considerable progress along ML King Jr. Drive and Lyndhurst, so we really appreciate that happening for our community. Again, thank you
We
very
still have
much.
more to go. We want them to be a little cleaner throughout the service area, but thank you.
Thank you. And if your team could reach out to the Neighborhood Planning Unit H
Yes.
and the Wilson Mill Meadows community and the Plainville community regarding changes to Route 865. Postcards
Absolutely.
would be great. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Councilmember Westmoreland, and then we'll go to the non-committee members. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. General Manager, CEO, for your presentation. I have two questions, I think, and they're both timeline related. The first, back to your comments on the PGC. It has started to feel to me through the public conversation about the vote that took place last May that that entity acts a little like our council committees and that it makes a recommendation to the full council or to the board in terms of action that it believes should move forward or not. And so is that a fair assessment? And did the vote that took place last summer represent a recommendation? And if so, when will that recommendation be brought to the full MARTA board?
Great question. I understand it. We do kind of operate in that way because it's familiar to the group, both bodies. That recommendation was not a significant change. The remarks I made at our board meeting went through the significant change, how that's defined in the IGA and in minutia. I did not go into that in this body, but the decision to pause the feasibility studies, which were $9.6 million in costs, did not trigger the need to go to the board for a vote. It wasn't a significant change. It wasn't more than 10% of the More MARTA program or of that project. However, when that occurred, we had some changes in leadership, which is where it fell through the board, and the board being updated when we have our GM remarks, which I provide in public at all of our board meetings.
Can you say the 10% figure one more time? If something doesn't reach a certain threshold,
It
then
was
there's
10%. I believe the IGA is 10% of the More MARTA program or the More MARTA project. And don't quote me on that. It's one of those two.
Okay. I'll go do some
There's
research
two
on
other
that.
reasons, two other triggers for significant change as well.
And a significant change is what requires a board vote.
Correct.
And that segues into my second question, which is around, you used the word reprioritization in your remarks. What is the timeline for that from a public engagement perspective and a board vote perspective?
A reprioritization would require a MARTA board vote. Let me be clear about that. That is a significant change.
Yeah.
1, 2, we're working with the PGC, the mayor's office on that reprioritization now. I can't give you a hard timeline when it'll be completed, but we should have something relatively soon that we can talk about in terms of a timeline.
I understand the hard deadline. How about a soft timeline?
Sooner rather than later, in my opinion.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up, Councilmember Lewis, followed by Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak today. Thank you, CEO, for coming in today. Super happy about a lot of the work that's going on in District 12. MARTA's been all over our community. Impromptu meetings as well because your staff has been out. My questions today are around the Metro map, and my questions today are about my dreams and hopes for the future for MARTA. Today you talked about the smart restrooms. The reason that happened is because I came into a council meeting, I talked about running to the bushes and how Lakewood Station, Oakland City Station, these stations, the restrooms just were never open. And so now we have these automatic smart restrooms. So I'm super happy about that. The next thing I'm talking about is this Metro map and the MARTA map. When you look at DC, I used to live in DC. I worked on Capitol Hill for Congressman Lacy Clay Jr. and I took the Metro every single day. And so what I found out is that Metro and MARTA started about the same time period. They both had maps, and Metro completed its map. I want to know if MARTA still has any plans to complete that original map.
Well, the original, we call it under the agreements, the engineering report or the map. There are several different engineering reports throughout the years, depending on who was in place, the varying members of our jurisdictional partners. We do want to complete as much as we can within the constraints of funding that we have. We are the largest, we are a top 10 public transit agency in the country. But of the top 10 public transit agencies in the country, we're the only ones that do not receive any sustaining or operating state funding. I want to be clear, and I want to slam the state. They have given us some grants in the last 10 years. One was the Bankhead Extension platform. They contributed to that. Our Avis signs, they've contributed to that. But there is definitely constraints around funding on how quickly we can expand, as well as operate and maintain that system. Everybody wants to talk about build, 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 but once you build it, there is a distinct cost to operate and maintain all of that. And it's not just keeping the lights on, it's labor, healthcare, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think that once we build, I think it'll take care of itself. Yep. The next things because it's doing it everywhere else. Metro is the example I would always use for MARTA because we're better than DC.
We are better than DC, but DC gets 4 different sources of income from Maryland,
super happy
Virginia,
about the
district, and the federal government.
Yep, and super happy about the restrooms. Lastly, I want Beltline Rail now Southside. I think that the arguments right now are people saying, hey, you moved it. I'm on the south side. I understand that I represent that area. I'm extremely excited about it. I need to know the plan. When can we get it going? Because I know that the dream of the Beltline is rail all around it, the entire 22-mile loop. We have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
I want to get it started. I think that the conversation should now change to Southside Beltline Rail now. Let's get some shovels in the ground. Let's get a plan out. And so I'm asking you, what do I have to do to get some of that stuff from MARTA?
On the South line, the best next step is the reprioritization. That is the best next step.
I thought we've already said, hey, this is what we're going to do.
There were a list of projects on the MARTA list. It was exceedingly long, representing, at least at that time, roughly $11 billion in projects. That exceeds the amount of money that would be brought in through the entire life of the MARTA halfpenny. So the prioritization occurred. Those projects are on the list. Are they above the prioritization line, meaning MARTA do it now, right now? No. But they are on the list. So we need to reprioritize to make sure everybody's clear what's going to happen.
And I'm just talking about Southside Beltline. Right?
I'm including that in the full list, yes.
Okay, so if there's any kind of way, and thank you again for this, but if there's any kind of way, and I appreciate you so much, CEO, for answering full out these questions, but if there's any kind of way you can give me some information on Southside Beltline. We have a new council member who represents this area. It's a new project in this area, and I'm ready to grab it by the bull by the horns. I'm ready to run.
Indeed. We can give you information around what we have on the south side. 100%.
Thank you again. Lastly, the reason why is because when you have rail on the south side, it's so people can get to work and get to things. It's not to get to the airport, not just to get to Lenox Mall. People actually need it. They don't have cars. So when you say you're going to do something, my folks in the south side are excited about it. Beltline Rail now want to keep their energy up. So if you can give me a plan so they can see how hard I'm going to work to get these shovels in the ground for Southside Beltline now. Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Lewis.
All right, Bakhtiari, followed by Collins.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I do first have to say I was watching the presentation from my office, and it is the best I've seen from MARTA since I've been in office. And to echo Councilmember Amos, you have been incredibly responsive, and I do want to commend the team sitting behind you, especially Carolina Ramos. So she's been fantastic. I do have first a list of route issues with the new bus redesign. In our district, Route 24 has been eliminated along Hosea Williams Drive, and the first is not a question, it's a statement. And I feel that there hasn't been input allowed by a lot of the council members. You listen, but then the answer is, thank you for your input, but no, essentially. And so a lot of these buses have been, and routes have been eliminated without community input. So my next question is, when would those operations cease?
Oh, got it. So there have been many years of input and community outreach, but the Next Gen Bus Network goes live in April. So that's when we're going to flip it over. It's April 18th. It's a Saturday on the weekend, and the entire MARTA team and staff, when I say not just the folks behind me, but everybody who doesn't repair a bus or drive a bus or provide safety and security is going to be out in a system on those days of that weekend to help with the transition. I want to be clear. We're not saying the Next Gen Bus Network is perfect. Nothing's perfect. But the system that we have now and its coverage base is not serving the community throughout Atlanta and the region well, which is why we went to this, which is a more targeted time, frequency delivered system. We are also not going to wait 40 more years or 2 years or 3 years to reevaluate. We're going to look every single month, tweak, and look to see where things need to be tweaked. We're going to give it a full 6 to 9 months when we first roll it out. And as we get input back from the community and we see, hey, we need to make tweaks here or there, we plan on doing so.
Thank you. I suppose my next question is, how was that decision made? It felt predetermined, so I'm curious about how it was made.
On the Next Gen Bus Network, or?
Yes, a lot of the routes, and I'll get to these questions later, but a lot of the routes that were changed don't quite make sense to myself or a lot of my district, hence the letter that I submitted. So I was curious about how you all came to your final conclusions.
I did not bring our planning team with me, but we did it through a series of meetings. Our planners looked at bus frequency, bus ridership. There may be a bus route. We've had many communities say, we like bus route, I'm making up a number, AA234. But when you look at the ridership, 2 people get on the bus. At some point, you have to align the ridership for a fast, frequent system that the community and the region has said they wanted to the ridership.
So you're saying there's a low number of riders that are impacted by this route closure?
I'm speaking generally, not about this specific route, but we can get into the specific routes after this.
Do we know how many riders will be impacted by this specific route closure?
We have details on each one of our routes and the impacts, as well as across mobility, very in minute detail, so that we can happily sit down with you and go through that.
I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm curious about how the closure was communicated to residents. Many of mine seem confused, so I wanted to see how that was done.
So on the Next Gen Bus Network, what we started with was back in December, we started by hanging signs. So there'll be signs on every single MARTA bus stop pole, bus shelter, bus intermodal, that says your bus stop is either being eliminated, changing in some sort of manner, being serviced by MARTA Reach, and those are different color-coded placards. If you drive around the city and the region, you'll see them everywhere. So if a person walks up, they can click on a QR code, see what their route is today and how it's changing. They can also go to our website. We've been pushing out a lot of social media around the Next Gen Bus Network changes. Additionally, we've been going in the first phase of in-person contact throughout January and early February. We've been going to all of our transit stations, rail stations, as well as our bus intermodals, handing out leaflets. We've posted on all of our buses the changes. So if you get on the bus, on the back behind the driver, you'll see a placard that says, hey, your bus route is changing. We're also doing postcards as well. And in March, we'll be going out to every single, with a human being, every single bus route to effectively talk to each one of our riders to let them know about the changes.
Thank you. And I guess guess I'm also curious because I've, about the communication, because I've also confirmed myself in surveying the route, and also Route 21 as well, that the shelters and benches installed to accommodate our riders have already been removed. And many of those shelters have just been installed in the last few years along senior routes. And I have residents reaching out to me trying to understand, and when I bring it to MARTA's attention, the response is great. But I'm also curious about how we're leaving our riders out in the elements like that, but also there was no communication, and I don't understand why they were removed this far ahead of the bus changes.
So we have some between 6,200 and 6,500 bus stops, which include a variety of types of amenities. We started our bus placard program on the bus stops in December before January when we did the official announcement, get ready for the bus network change as the public push, because there's so many. There are plenty of locations where our amenity is going to be moved from one location to another. We're not going to be able to achieve all of that on the evening of April 17th. We have to start now to get it done. I mentioned earlier in my remarks, there's going to be some short-term pain in delivering this $1.5 billion in a single year. That's part of the pain. We're not happy about it. We're happy to reach out to the constituents, go to MPU meetings, senior centers, and talk to folks, and we are. But it's not going to be comfortable for the next couple of months.
That's fair. Big change does require pain at first. Understood. And I would be remiss if I did not add that my district does want to see higher frequency back on Bus 21 as well. So I would, as some of my constituents have reminded me in the audience, my major concern, and I've spoken to some of my colleagues about this, but my major concern is the fact that the areas that we are removing are along some of the senior routes that I worked very hard my team and I worked very hard to get infrastructure installed on and routes adjusted for that. And now they're being told that those buses are not going to be there and that they should download an app in order to order those buses. And I heard Councilmember Boone say something yesterday that was, to me, very poignant. We have seniors in our district that that don't know how to send an email, let alone how to download an app on their phone. How are we going to, this seems less accessible to people who may need it the most.
So in terms of this micromobility and MARTA Reach and other areas in our studies, what we've noticed and what we've gleaned is that typically the two highest and quickest and earliest adopters are seniors and actually teenagers. Teenagers, because they're tech savvy, on their front foot, it's easy on the app, to your point, and they tend to do that for after school and when they want to run to their friend's house or somewhere within the zone itself. With the seniors, we also have multiple ways. So we have the app, we have the website, and they can also call. So there are multiple ways to address how they want to call for a vehicle to come, But what we found in our studies is those are the two earliest adopters. We have been going out, we're arming senior centers with information on how to call MARTA Reach, but we're really excited about it. I know there's some trepidation, but we are excited.
And if I can specifically ask, if I can name some towers for you.
Yes.
Verandas, Wheat Street Towers, Brandon Towers, and my senior towers in Eastlake.
Got it.
So if we can make sure that we are in Mercy Housing on Field Street in Reynoldstown. So those specifically, if you would not mind.
Not at all.
Thank you. My next list of questions, and I want to preface that my next list of questions pertain to a time that was before you were CEO, so I want to acknowledge that. They are about the East Side Beltline Rail. Diving right into it, how much money has MARTA raised since the voters approved the more MARTA tax in 2016?
I did not bring that with me. We do have that number. I did not bring it with me. We have, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 230, 240 million in reserves right now.
If you wouldn't mind getting that number, I understood. Thank you so much. For how long was the East Side Beltline Rail promised to voters and funded by the More MARTA tax?
Well, the project list, for all projects, it would be 2016, because the full project list was out there when it was adopted. Funding for it and studies and work probably began somewhere right near in the, right around the pandemic, which was not the most robust and quick time for work around the nation, but I
What are you
believe that
talking
was
about? That Black Swan event? And go ahead.
Yeah.
I understand. But I should also follow up by saying that much of my district has expressed to me that after 10 years, they feel that nearly $10 million seems squandered in planning and preparation. I mean, East Side Beltline Rail was paused or halted. I don't know what the language is about that is. Mr. Higgs was very upset yesterday when I said halted. So whichever word you may prefer. What changed and what new information informed this decision?
Well, what changed was it was a clear indication from the city that there was going to be a reprioritization. It was not already under construction, say like Rapid A line on Summerhill.
To interrupt you for just a moment,
Yes.
quick question. Are you saying that this decision was initiated by the executive?
What I'm saying is it was clear that there was a reprioritization that was going to occur. And as I noted in my remarks, under the agreement, we're supposed to look at the full list and to make sure what we want to build and deliver fits within the amount of money that the program will bring in through the life of the half-penny tax. But once it was clear that there was a reprioritization that was going to occur in some fashion, and that Beltline was part of that decision, the PGC decided, hey, listen, we can't keep spending planning money if this project changes in any way.
Okay. My concern is that the debate and the progress are being marred by a lack of focus. And it seems to reason that the prioritization should be both East Side Beltline Rail and infill stations. Did you say that's correct?
That's clear.
So having raised whatever the dollars are through the More MARTA tax alone since 2016, this doesn't seem to be a matter of funding. It seems like it's a matter of focus and political will.
Well, if
so
we were
when
only
will-
talking about the capital just to build it, you're probably right. But the More MARTA half-penny funds capital, operations, and maintenance. So there's an operation and maintenance component to each one of these projects that require funding. So if we say we are going to raise $3 billion over the life of the program, we can't build $3 billion worth of stuff because you will have effectively eliminated any funds for operations and maintenance.
Okay, so when will MARTA release a plan to get back on track?
That's the reprioritization.
So we don't yet know what the timeline is.
And me standing here right now, I can't tell you because it's a group, a body, and what ABI as well as the city of Atlanta in terms of timeline. I won't speak for them, but from
Sooner
MARTA's
rather than
standpoint,
later.
we want to do it as quickly as possible.
Understood. This leads me to my final question. Well, maybe not my final, but what's the next big project that will come online?
Within the city of Atlanta, I'm assuming you're limited to the city of Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
We have so many, but the next wave includes Campbellton Rapid Sea Line, the Bankhead Platform Extension, the Transformation Project for 5 Points. All of those are moving forward robustly, and I suspect they'll come online around the same time or slightly before. They're early stages, so you're asking me to pick a date. For 5 Points, I can tell you it's 2029. With Bankhead, I can tell you we're at 60% design. I want us to be moving dirt in 2027 on that project. And on Campbellton, we're at 30% design and other variables on 15% of design on 2 other aspects of the project. But I've instructed our group to go as fast and as quickly as possible, involving the community, of course, but as fast and as quickly as possible.
I want to highlight that
And Summerhill's coming online in April, so sorry.
I want to highlight that I have really appreciated our conversations and engagement. You are the change in leadership is a stark contrast, and it is much appreciated. I do want to note all of that. I don't know how we can look our constituents in the face and ask them to trust us. I don't know how we build back trust. And I understand that these are patterns and issues that have come long before many of us were here. But we aren't keeping promises. It feels like we're continuously gaslighting the public. I was doing my homework and looking back at some of the more MARTA materials that were put out in 2016. And it was focused on, yes, bus improvements, but also high capacity improvements. And I'm looking at the list here and it says, it mentions rail, it mentions heavy rail, light rail, it mentions bus rapid transit, it mentions infill stations, rail station enhancements. It says nothing about autonomous vehicles. It says nothing about pods. And when I tell Mr. Higgs and the Beltline that I think it's a failure to bring the Beep Beep pilot to the Beltline, this is why. It wasn't on our high capacity lists. And it feels like we continuously take shortcuts. And the East Side Rail, I understand people talk about the streetcar and what a bad example it is. It was phase 1. It was phase 1, and we haven't put pride into it. And then we manifest the very thing that seems we suppress ridership because we don't take pride in it, and we haven't pushed for phase 2. We haven't pushed for those things. And it's confusing to me to change after I don't know how much money was put into those designs and plannings. But how can we then halt progress, say it wasn't a secret vote, and be broken to us by the press 9 months later or 8 months later, whatever that timeline is? And how can we look at our constituency and say that that it isn't a problem or that we're not going to deviate from this list again? We haven't done these high capacity projects and it's been 10 years and we're deviating from it. And I just don't know what our transit vision is.
Understood. I understand exactly what you're getting at. Your initial thrust of your question was around trust. I'm going to address that and then a couple of other points. On trust, I'm in the chair now, so I get whatever decisions were made before me, whether I like them or not. But going forward, in terms of trust, it's delivering. It's being in the community. It's building the projects where we've got clear guidance from whether it's Atlanta or any one of our jurisdictional partners to go. We go, and we're going to go very quickly. I have lit a fire under our Capitals Program group, under the leadership of Larry Prescott, who's sitting behind me, to get these projects done quicker. And we are picking up the pace, and hopefully it's been noticed. Those sorts of things, providing a safe, clean, reliable service so that when we get the cute whiz-bang in place, we have operators and mechanics and police officers to deliver a service. It doesn't matter if we have the great, most technologically advanced train in the country. If people don't feel safe, it won't get on it. It doesn't matter if we cover every corner of the region of the city of Atlanta with buses. If they're empty and people don't feel safe, they won't get on them. So that's how we're planning on getting back to delivering trust with our patrons, your constituents, the public generally. With respect to the changes, I did note how the IGA contemplated revisiting the list. That doesn't mean it has to change, but as times change, economic forecasts change, every 5 years, look at the list, make sure what we're building we can afford to operate and maintain. It's prudent. We are financially constrained as an agency, and that's not this body's fault. We're not asking Atlanta to pony up more money, but it is a fact that out of the other 9 top 10 agencies, we don't have additional funds to do more robust planning to make sure that the engineering report, as Councilman Lewis noted, and Tom noted earlier, hasn't been built.
I appreciate the engagement, and I really do appreciate your responses to all of these questions. I want to echo one thing, because my constituents were the ones who showed up heartbroken to the MARTA board meeting. And I do emphasize heartbroken. And what I want to echo a sentiment that is consistent throughout my district, and I have to say I agree. I believe that the Beltline is a failure without rail. And because it's right now it's being used as it's a beautiful thing, but it's also a tourist attraction. It's being used as a delivery route. It's being used to test out autonomous vehicles, and it's becoming increasingly inaccessible. And multimodal connectivity should be the focus of the city, but high capacity should be the focus of MARTA. And I hope to see us move back to that. I think we've done plenty of planning, plenty of studies, plenty of talking. And if we do not do the hard work now and continue to kick this can down the line, then we are building progress on clay legs. And the city's economic future will fail. The equity breaches will fail. So I will continue pushing for rail. I really do appreciate you coming down. I understand that many of these decisions were made before you were CEO, and I really do look forward to engaging and building a constructive partnership. But I would be remiss to not name and visit all of this and to speak on behalf of my district. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
All right, got Collins, followed by Hillis, and then Boone. Got colleagues, I'm going to ask that kind of, we need to try and wrap this up, but feel free to ask the questions you need to ask.
Mr. Chair, for being a non-committee member, is
No,
it
go
okay
ahead.
to defer?
Go ahead.
So I thank you for this, Mr. Hunt, and I was listening in on the presentation, and also in terms of just having a couple of questions. I'm going to start just kind of going back to Council members Batiari's point, but more importantly, leading to Councilman Boone's point in terms of where we are currently. I know, having you now as a helm on new leadership and building the team that you need to move forward, for me, is really, truly is, okay, where do we go from here? And so I think for some of us, and I'll just be in full transparency, I understand exactly what you're saying when you have a 2016 project list and you have you have events that happens that can either where you want evolution to happen in those project plans, honestly. 10 years ago when this was created, no one was talking about autonomous vehicles. The idea of Beltline Rail was the kind of like the pie in the sky deal, but we knew what makes Atlanta great and why I love serving this city is that we are truly a city that can, if it hasn't been done, we truly lean in that let's do it. So I understand that piece, and also with previous experiences, been in spaces of having to repivot and reprioritize. But I do think what is constantly missing through all of this, and what Boone literally talked about just even with her district, is the community engagement piece. And what does that, for me, it is where is the checkpoints moving forward to ensure that we are all just clearly communicating on where things are. What is the reprioritization? What are the factors that are in place there? What does that timeline look like? And not even necessarily the weigh-in of us providing details, but for us to have the information so when we do get the calls from constituents throughout the city, that we are more informed to give that information. And what I can fully tell you in full transparency, I can't answer all the details of the questions for MARTA, and that is, I think for me, that is the concerning piece. So my first question is, what are the parameters, or how are we rethinking community engagement in all aspects of this on a couple of things, not only the prioritization pieces, the reprioritization pieces that you just talked about, and number one. Number two, how are we what are the new things that we're going to communicate the next gen bus network that is being not only considered, but that will be implemented I know you shared in terms of like the things that are being posted on, you know, current bus stations and things like that, but what about the person who wants to start taking MARTA and want, you know, like for me that moving closer to want to engage in that space, what does that look like so that in terms of the Next Gen Bus Network? And the third thing, what does it mean when, what does that look like to be World Cup ready for MARTA? We know we're going to have people, you know, we're going to have attendees that speak multiple languages. What is our, you know, method in terms of inclusivity? We know that, what does, you know, just in not anything, you know, doesn't have to be deep, but what does this look like in terms of the frequency of bus and trains arrival that we can anticipate? Like, what does it mean when you say World Cup, you know, World Cup ready? And then my fourth question is just something that you just mentioned, and I just kind of wanted to flesh it out a little bit more for clarity. You said that that MARTA is, that there is a financial strain, being that we don't receive state dollars, and we all know that is because at one point in time, state legislature didn't think that we were a state transit authority, more local. However, you talked about a $240 million in reserves, and so, you know, what is that? Is that what does that reserve entail? Is that just more details on that? So I think and for us, because we're going to get the question in terms of if you're saying you're financially strained, but there is at least $240 million in reserves, what does the actuals of budget look like? What are those numbers? So just those 4 pieces.
So we'll get the financial information to the full committee and yourself, all the attendees, full council. But going back from the last question first.
Yeah.
The 240 is just when we're not spending every dollar that comes in immediately. When we don't, it goes into a reserve that's under more MARTA that's just held there in a safe investment vehicle, so that as we deploy and we have to spend money on these projects, it's there to draw down on. That's all that's meant by that. On the World Cup ready, I was trying to be sensitive to the Transportation Committee. I could have hit all these things and have been standing up here for 3 hours without compunction. And as a preacher's kid and attorney, listening to my sound of my own voice for three hours is fine for me. You all may not have appreciated it. But with World Cup ready, we're focused on customer service, we're focused on safety and security, and we're focused on frequency and reliability. So we're reporting into the World Cup host. In fact, my Deputy General Manager, Rhonda Allen, who's normally here at all the jurisdictional briefings with me, as well as the members of the other leadership team, is at a host committee meeting right now. Frequency, we are just about done with our plan, but in short, we're planning on running 5-minute headways from the start of service on rail through 10:30 p.m. We will be staging on game days and major non-game days at least 30 buses around the key stations or the key venue event areas. So in case there is a rail issue, we can get the people up out of the station and on their way quickly. We have a standard throughput of trying to empty a venue within 90 minutes of the close of an event. We hit that mark pretty regularly, and we're very proud of that. We're still targeting that for all of the World Cup venue events. On the Next Gen, we are doing a wide variety of distributions, and we're doing it through our postcards and our mailers on outreach on trying to get new riders. And thank you very much for that question. But this next phase in March, we're going into in-person, touching our patrons personally with, hey, your route 21 or 2 or 873, it's changing or it's being eliminated. And even though it's being eliminated, you have MARTA Reach, or it's now being serviced instead of by 873 by 271, so that we have direct outreach and connection. And we've been doing all the technological outreaches of the day, social, et cetera. And with respect to more MARTA, your first question, I may have lost it. Or I definitely lost it, sorry.
Yeah, my first question in terms of the reprioritization piece, what is the engagement?
Community engagement,
Yep.
yes.
Is there a timeline that would be
We are
consistently
committed
available?
MARTA is committed to doing a level of community engagement that is both robust and expeditious, because what we've heard loud and clear, and I'm only going to speak for our organization, is we want more movement sooner. regardless if it's Streetcar East or any other project. We want more movement sooner. That message has been delivered loud and clear.
So just two requests now in here, Mr. Chair, I don't sit on Transportation Committee, but what would be helpful is any information or collateral that you have first in terms of being World Cup ready would be great for us to at least be a steward and ambassador of that information. And if possible, with the quarterly reporting or even the presentation reporting, some consistent reporting, or whether it's an addendum or reference to the presentations on where the More MARTA piece is would be great. And I mean, even if it's the good, bad, and the ugly, I think just having that information available, readily available and consistently available would at least just keep us informed on what's happening. I know, like I said, I can only speak for me. I know I've been at the table, Matt, as a former board member, knows this, when we did with ESPOS, when you have to, when in terms of relooking at a list and determining, do you spend the 20 million that was allocated for a building 8 million, 10 years ago, and we know that so I think there, I can only speak for me, but I think there's a space of understanding there, but a consistent way, whether it's embedded in this committee's report out or something that's sent to the full council regularly, just will help us be able to communicate to our constituents.
Absolutely.
More about it. So thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. Chair.
Councilmember Collins.
Thank you. Councilmember Hillis, then Councilmember Boone.
Thank you, Chair One. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Just wanted to put forward to you just a simple request about the Next Gen Bus Network that I discussed with your intergovernmental team earlier this month. With the redrawing of the routes, you're going down a new street that is too narrow, and I've received requests from residents and, more importantly, from employees, from workers up to the management level of the semi-new Amazon distribution center in my district, which is probably the largest employment center in District 9, with 800 to 1,200 workers throughout the day. And even with the redrawing of the routes, those workers are expected to walk half a mile to the front door of that Amazon facility, when there is a much easier route to get them almost to that front door. Is a brand new street that the developer built that is signalized that would get that bus from. The reason they're using the currently scheduled street is it just gets that, it's the street that is there that gets them from Merida Boulevard to Merida Road. But the street would do the same thing and allow those workers to get dropped off without a half a mile, 10 to 15 mile walk to that facility. So we'll just ask that
I'll definitely
be
have our
looked
planners
into,
looking
please.
at. Do you know the bus route? If not, we'll figure it out. You said the Amazon facility.
I could guess, but I don't want to give you wrong information. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Benton.
Yes, I will be very short. What will be helpful is a postcard about this size, half of that large print.
Large print, got it.
With a phone number and bus options. Because many of our citizens will not come out to the community engagement forums. But if we just do a simple mailing to maybe each household in those affected precincts, and I think I only have 2 precincts affected by this, that will be very helpful. A nice big postcard this size, not the little small one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Boone.
All right, I'm going to try and get you out of here, but I do have a couple questions myself. First is really about around More MARTA, slide number 6, the financials. You talked about how y'all are switching the systems and all that. I just want to note that the date of these numbers are as of June 30th, 2025. Obviously, 6 months have already passed. When rather than waiting until the next quarterly, is there any way we can get?
As soon as I would hope that it would have been done by now, and I apologize to this committee and the board, but we're shooting for the end of March. We're just vetting everything. When you convert from one system to another, the last thing that I want to have occur is to have to restate those numbers again in short order. So we're shooting for the end of March.
Yeah, I appreciate it because this is our way of just making sure
100%.
progress is being made and quite frankly, that we're not burning up resources unnecessarily when you've said earlier that we've got limited resources to do a project list that we know we already can't accomplish from just this simple financial resource. All right.
We will not wait for the next quarterly briefing to distribute that information.
I appreciate that. Regarding the PGC, on page 17, I think, yeah, there was a distinction, I think that it's nuanced, but it's important. You said they're not secret meetings, but I think the criticism is that they've been closed-door meetings. My question for you is, can anyone attend? Like, could we attend? Can any of the audience attend? And if so, when is the next one? And
we typically, by the terms of the IGA, they're quarterly.
Okay.
And they're meant to be updates. We meet monthly just because of so much that is going on. They're working group meetings. So we typically don't invite the public to general working group meetings to move projects along. So.
But the question is, if we wanted to, could we participate? Could we sit in on them?
I would leave that to the city's, there's 3 legs on this stool. MARTA's one. I would leave that to the city to determine who they want in that meeting.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned about doing a better job sharing the information with the MARTA board at the last transportation meeting. I challenged the 4 folks that represent the city to do a better job telling us, but the next best thing, actually the better thing, is if we can be in the room just in case going forward. Again, a very different nuance between secret closed doors and
Understood.
In terms of reprioritization of projects, would council have an action per the current IGA to approve that? Like, would we have to formally vote on that before it becomes final?
As the IG's currently constructed, no.
Okay.
That's not my understanding. That doesn't mean
So
that,
it can,
that
got it. So it can
within
happen.
the city, you don't have your own working group and get input.
Okay, so it can happen without our even having a say in that
As
a
currently
body.
constructed. Yes,
Okay.
as a body, yeah.
So the only other way, as has been suggested before, is for us to, but a new IGA would have to be approved by us.
You have some outstanding lawyers.
All right, I asked the law
And I
department.
am no
that's-
longer
no,
a
I
lawyer
wanna
at
know.
present, and I know when to stay in my lane.
That's fair, so I'll ask our law department. An amendment to the IGA that inserted council back into the process, would any amendment to that require city council approval?
It typically does. Vivica Brown from the city's law department. It typically does. We'd need to see whether or not there are costs involved and some other factors that may fall under the code, but typically, yes.
Costs involved?
So there are certain amendments that can be approved administratively, and then there are others that would need a more formal approval process. And so we will need to evaluate the code to verify that.
Okay. And we would not need any sort of, could council essentially assert today an amendment to the IGA that inserted ourselves in?
Again, I'd need to look at the IGA. I've not looked at it specifically. We'd need to collectively have a review to provide you with a response.
All right, Mr. Johnson, I want to put that on our follow-up list. I think there is definitely appetite on our side to do that, and I want to understand the process by which we today can do it, or if any trigger events happen over the next 6 to 12 months, how we might be able to affect that. So, Mr. Hunt, I do want to thank you and your team. I do know that since I've become transportation chair, your team, including Carolina, have been very, very just transparent, provided a lot of information. It is a welcomed new dynamic for us. I think, you know, the fact that you've seen so many of us up here is not all born out of concern and just distress over the vote, but it is understanding there is a new era and that we want to take advantage of the opportunity to interact with you and your team. So I do want to thank you for your presentation. It probably was a little longer than you expected to be up there today, but everything you provided to us was great and much appreciated.
I appreciate that. I think Councilman Hills? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, sorry, you have more?
Well, my guess would have been correct. That was Route 52. who I spoke
52,
to.
oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
And may I, personal privilege item?
Please.
I live in District 8. I just want to say hi. Council Norwood. That's all. Thank you all very much for your time. Be well.
All right.
Welcome. We're delighted to have you.
All right, colleagues, it is now 4 minutes till noon. We do have the full agenda. I'm going to try and move us through as quickly as we can. Mr. Johnson, if you will sound our first reads, we'll get through that section now.
This takes us to Section G, ordinance for first reading, item number 1, 26-01162, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor as need to execute an amendment to extend agreement number listed herein, rental car center operations and maintenance services with Meridian Urban Joint Venture, LLC, on behalf of the Department of Aviation for a term of 6 months beginning April 1st, 2026 through September 30th, 2026, an amount not to exceed $5,235,893.70. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for the purposes. Item number 2, 26-01163, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to convey approximately 664.052 square feet, more or less, of city-owned land and to grant a temporary easement consisting of approximately 623.225 square feet, more or less, of land over a portion of city-owned property located at 2520 Browns Mill Road, Southeast Atlanta, Georgia, 30354, Fulton County, land lot 36 of the 14th District, tax parcel ID number listed herein, to the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority for the construction, improvement, maintenance, and operation of Cleveland Avenue Metropolitan Parkway Arterial Rapid Transit Project, waiving any conflicting code provisions of Article 10, Division 14, subsection 3 of the Atlanta City Code of Ordinances and for the purposes. Item number 3, 26-01164, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to agreement number listed herein, on-call plumbing repair and maintenance services with Plumbing Shop Incorporated, doing business as Quick Action Plumber, to add the Department of Parks and Recreation as authorized user on behalf of the Department of Aviation, and to authorize funding in an amount not to exceed $450,000.00. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the council listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 4, 26-01165, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to authorize the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to extend existing shareable dockless mobility device annual permits on a month-to-month basis for 5 months with a shareable dockless mobility device operator beginning April 2nd, 2026 and ending on September 1st, 2026 and for other purposes. Item number 5, 26-01166, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary for the acquisition of certain additional property interests necessary for the Chattahoochee Avenue Sidewalk Installation Project, authorizing negotiations with property owners for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing title searches, appraisal surveys, and any other items necessary for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing the mayor and the city attorney in the event negotiations are unsuccessful to institute condemnation proceedings pursuant to the Declaration of Taken Method, OCGA 32-3-1, waiving certain provisions of Article 10, Real Estate and Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, all contracted work and payments for property interest to be paid from account numbers listed herein and for the purposes. Item number 6, 26-01167, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Transportation to accept Surface Transportation Block Grant Award funds from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources for the Peachtree Street from North Avenue to West Peachtree Street Transportation Improvement Project, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2026 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $3,600,000.00 for the agreement for the project, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute agreements with the Georgia Department of Transportation for acceptance of grant acceptance and for other purposes. Item number 7, 26-01168, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary for the acquisition of certain property interests necessary for the Mount Zion Road sidewalk installation project, authorizing negotiations with property owners for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing title searches, appraisal surveys, and any other items necessary for the acquisition of such property interests, authorizing the mayor and the city attorney in the event negotiations are unsuccessful to institute condemnation proceedings pursuant to the declaration of taking method OCGA 32-3-1, waiving certain provisions of Article 10, Real Estate and Procurement Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, all contract work and payments for property interest to be paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Item number A26-01169, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to waive Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 7, Section 2-1292E, and Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 4, Section 2-1187 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Municipal Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise the final renewal option for agreement number listed herein, Joseph E. Lauer, Complete Street, and TCC with Precision 2000 Incorporated, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 1 year effective April 16, 2026 through April 15, 2027, and to amend the agreement to add an amount not to exceed $673,876.43. All work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 926-01170, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor as designated to execute the First Amendment to agreement number listed herein, on-call heating, ventilation, and air conditioning mechanical services with Ars Mechanical LLC and Harts Mechanical Facilities and Services LLC, to add the Department of Parks and Recreation and the Department of Watershed Management as authorized users on behalf of the Department of Aviation, and to authorize funding in amount not to exceed $650,000.00, all contract work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 1026-01171, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, and subsection 2-1292E of Division 7 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the Third Amendment to agreement number listed herein, landfill and airport slope mowing and clearing with Genesis Testing Services Incorporated on behalf of the Department of Aviation, to add funding for beautification efforts for the Federation Internationale de Football Association World Cup hosted by the City of Atlanta in 2026, as well as to prepare for the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation Security Administration's inspections at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, an amount not to exceed $350,000.00. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department Organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 1126-01172, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to waive the procurement source selection provisions contained in Division 4 of Chapter 2, Article 10 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise renewal option number 2 on behalf of the Department of Aviation for professional services agreement number listed herein, off-airport exterior asset maintenance and service with Rubber Boots Lawn Care Services LLC for a term of 1 year effective December 19th, 2025 through December 18th, 2026, an amount not to exceed $300,000.00. All contract will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right, we'll see those at our next Transportation Committee meeting. That takes us to ordinances for second reading. Item 26-01133, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept grant award funds from the United States Department of Transportation for the Railroad Crossing Elimination Discretionary Grant Program, to amend that fiscal year 2026 intergovernmental grant fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations an amount not to exceed $1,200,000.00 for the funding of the City of Atlanta Safe Crossing Study, to authorize the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement with the United States Department of Transportation for grant acceptance and participation, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to accept funds from the Atlanta Beltline, Inc. on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. Any questions from my colleagues? Motion from Amos to approve. I'll second that. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Next item, 26O1134, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to pay all outstanding invoices to Georgia Paving, Inc. for services under the agreement number listed, installation of traffic calming measures on behalf of the Department of Transportation in an amount not to exceed $136,880.00. Authorize the reconciliation of accounts, all contracted work to be charged to and paid from fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. I'll move approval. Is there a second? Second by Amos. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, colleagues, if there are no objections, I'm going to take the items that we're going to hold as a block just to kind of keep this moving. First item is 14, which is 26O1145, an ordinance by council members Amos and Collins to rename Lee Street Southwest as Judge Thelma Wyatt Cummings Moore Boulevard to waive certain provisions of section 138.8 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. This has to be held for a public hearing. I'm going to jump to item 21. Which is 26R3253, resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for contract number listed, Campbellton Road Pedestrian Mobility Improvement with SDNC Inc. on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation. To commence, the date a notice to proceed is issued for a performance period consisting of 280 calendar days to achieve the substantial completion milestone and 340 calendar days from the issuance of the note to proceed to achieve the final completion milestone in an amount not to exceed $824,096.00. All contract work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. It's being held by request of the department. Item number 23, which is 26R3255, resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for contract number listed, Traffic Signal Enhancement Program, Phase 1 with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 5 years with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $1,134,136.88. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. This needs to be held to await the IPRO report. And then finally, item 28, 26R3296, resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for contract number listed, landscaping, upkeep, and debris management at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Russell Landscape LLC and Mariani Enterprises LLC doing business as Ed Castro on behalf of the Department of Aviation pursuant to Section 21188 at SEEK of the City of Atlanta, Georgia for an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $7 million. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. That also,
Mr. Chair, you can say item number 16 that is also being held as well.
well, we have to amend that one, so it's a separate.
We can hold it in the minute next cycle.
No, let's just amend it. We'll amend it now. Let's just go ahead and vote on these that I listed. And that one is awaiting an IPRO report as well. So if there's no objections, we'll move to hold all of those items. Second by Westmoreland. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are held in committee.
Okay, so that takes us back to 26R3230. The resolution by council member, we have a substitute that changes the caption. I'll read that in and make the motion to bring that forward. It is a resolution by council member Amos as substituted by Transportation Committee requesting the mayor or his designee to install stop signs at the intersection of Yancey Street Northwest, Cameron Madison Alexander Boulevard Northwest, and Herndon Square Avenue Northwest to create an all-way stop-controlled intersection and for other purposes. Motion by Juan, second by Amos to bring the substitute forward. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is before you.
Mr. Amos, you want to make the motion? I'll second that. Let's open that vote, please. No, we just.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute.
And that is, y'all fix that, yeah, there we go, thanks. All right, 26R 3235, a resolution by council members Worthy, Bond, Michael Bond, Westmoreland, Juan, and Collins authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation and a project management agreement with the Buckhead Community Improvement District for the Lennox Road Corridor Trail and safety improvements from Phipps Boulevard to Piedmont Road, project number listed, and authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute all future agreements with the GDOT and BCID associated with the project to include but not limited to right-of-way acquisition, construction, and mowing and maintenance agreements and for other purposes. Motion to amend to add Councilmember Norwood's name. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Norwood. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion now to hold as requested by law in the department. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Norwood. Let's open the motion to hold, please.
The vote is open.
And I just want to say it's because it's a resolution, it needs to be an ordinance, so the ordinance will be introduced.
Oh, okay.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended and held in committee.
Okay, without objection, colleagues, I'm going to take the next two items together. 26R 3240, a resolution by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland requesting the mayor or his designee to install stop signs at the intersection of Mount Perrin Road Northwest and Parian Ridge Road Northwest to create an all-way stop controlled intersection and for other purposes. And 26R 3241, a resolution by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland requesting the mayor or his designee to install stop signs at the intersection of Mount Perrin Road Northwest and Cloudland Drive Northwest to create an all-way stop controlled intersection and for other purposes. Councilmember Norwood wants to amend this to add her name.
Second.
The motion by Norwood, second by Westmoreland. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute for both of these papers. The substitute,
we do. Okay.
Changes the name of the neighborhood and also removes the be it finally resolved clause.
Wow, that's what I get for not reading my notes here. Okay, all right, so let's go back to 26R 3240. Amend first? Okay, all right. Very good, thank you. So let's open the vote to amend, and then we'll come back and do another motion to substitute.
Yeah. One moment. Mr. Chair, can you repeat the mover and the seconder?
Norwood, Westmoreland.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Okay, now I'll make the motion to substitute both papers that changes the neighborhoods and then removes a resolve clause. So motion to bring forward the substitute on both items, seconded by Norwood. Let's open that vote, please.
All right. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items have been substituted.
All right, Ms. Norwood, you want to make the motion? Okay, motion from Norwood, second by Juan on both items.
Yes. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable on substitute.
As amended. Yes, thank you. All right, next item, 26R 3242, a resolution by council members Westmoreland, Dozier, Hillis, and Collins requesting the Atlanta Department of Transportation honor its summer 2025 public commitment to fulfill the request outlined in Resolution 25R 3213 before the city-sponsored Atlanta Streets Alive on Peachtree Street on April 19th, 2026, and for other purposes. Any questions or discussion on this? Mr. Westmoreland, you want to make the motion on this one?
I'm happy to make a motion to approve. Didn't know if anybody wanted to speak to the paper, but yes, I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Did the department need to speak to this one?
Okay.
No? Okay, let's open that vote, please. Motion Westmoreland, second Juan.
Vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Okay, next item, 26R 3245, a resolution by council members Andrea L. Boone and Michael Julian Bond requesting the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Lynn Circle Southwest in order to reduce speeding and for other purposes. Councilmember Boone, you want to make the motion on this one? All right, I'll second that. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
Okay, we've done the next item. The next item will be 26R 3254, resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to the project management agreement with the Path Foundation, Inc., a Georgia nonprofit corporation for the Peachtree Creek Greenway project on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to clarify right-of-way acquisition responsibilities and for other purposes. I'll move to approve. Can I get a second, please? Seconded by Councilmember Norwood. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable.
All right, next item is 26R 3256, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city of Atlanta to execute an encroachment agreement with Southern Telecom, Inc. for the installation and attachment of one 3-inch fiberglass reinforced epoxy cable conduit on and or underneath the Centennial Olympic Park Drive Bridge in the Centennial Olympic Park Drive Northwest right-of-way located at or near 100 Centennial Olympic Park Drive, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, and for other purposes. Any questions from my colleagues? If not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Amos. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, 26R 3257, resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a project management agreement with the Westside Howell Mill Community Improvement District for the Huff Road Widening Project on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation in an amount not to exceed $1,624,284.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Any questions from? There's a motion from Hillis to approve. Seconded by Amos. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, 26R 3258, a resolution by Transportation Committee to amend resolution number listed, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on September 16, 2024, and approved by the mayor on September 16, 2024, to add Airport Renewal Fund 5502 for $312,000.00 to be encumbered annually on behalf of the Department of Aviation. All other parts of the legislation to remain unchanged and for other purposes. I'll move approval. Is there a second from Boone? Sorry, okay. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, and then finally, 26R 3295, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for contract number listed, heavy equipment pressure washing services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Advanced Diagnostics, LLC, on behalf of the Department of Aviation for an initial term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $550,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Any questions? I'll make a motion to approve. Seconded by Hillis. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, Mr. Johnson, does that take care of all of our legislative items?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that concludes our
Make good
legislative
time
items
there.
for today.
Any other comments or for the good of the order from my colleagues? All right, seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.